Arianna, and this is my channel, New Songs on Mondays, where I post a new song every week based on a book that I've read throughout the week. This week's song is called Making Plans, and it's inspired by Jojo Moyes' novel, Me Before You. This book follows a young woman by the name of Louisa Clark, who right at the beginning of this novel finds out that she's losing her job, and she is the sole provider of her family, which includes her mother, her father, her grandfather, and her sister's child. She's the only one who has a job. Her father had gotten laid off, her grandfather can't work, and so now Louisa has lost her job. She ends up doing an interview for a job as a part-time caregiver for a quadriplegic. She's never had any experience with quadriplegics before, but the money looks really, really good, and it's only about a 6-month contract. Our quadriplegic in this book is named Will Trainer, and he's a young man who was living a very, very, very large lifestyle, lots of extreme sports, had a motorcycle, very, very successful young man, got hit by a car and unfortunately had a C5-6 spinal cord injury. He is nothing like what Louisa expects. We find out, the more we get to know him, that he has a wicked sense of humor, that of course he is very depressed. It's one of those injuries where nothing is going to ever get better. Louisa and Will form a very kind of unlikely friendship. Fairly shortly into the book, we have Louisa overhearing a discussion between Will's sister and Will's mother, and she realizes that Will has attempted to commit suicide before. She also finds out that Will has been planning on completing assisted suicide at a clinic in Switzerland, and that is why her contract is only 6 months. His mother had hired Louisa to try and change his mind, but without telling her that this was the plan. Louisa actually quits her job for a little while, and she ends up deciding to go back and really commits to trying to change his mind. So she does a ton of research. She finds and contacts other people who are looking after people like Will, and what they do and what they'd recommend. So she really, really dives in. So this book does not really fit into my normal genre of books that I like to read. This is an adult fiction novel, whereas I usually read young adult fantasy or sci-fi fiction, or even young adult contemporary novels. The reason that I don't read a lot of adult fiction is that I find it's too realistic for me, especially because I like to read to escape and relax and not think about the real world. And books like this I find just really, they're painful. I just don't really enjoy them as much, but I actually had to read this book twice, because the first time I read it, I just put it at the end of my bed and just looked at it and was like, why? Why? But then I said to myself a couple days later, I was like, you should flip through this again. And I did, and I'm actually really excited that this book is being turned into a movie this year. I'm also really excited to see how they portray Will. I know that the actor for it is the one who played Finnick in The Hunger Games, and I really, really liked his performance in that series, and I really look forward to this movie. I think I will go watch it. The first time I finished the book, I was like, never. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. This is Making Plans.
Roll out of bed in the morning, here comes the headache. A warning that no matter what I do, I answer to you. What do you think about today? Walking through grass in the morning, feeling each blade against my feet, each one reaching alive for the big blue sky. What do you think about today? And we're all making plans for a future, even when we know we're pressed for time. I'm making plans for a future, but what kind of future is mine? It's one where I'm close to you always, one where you're happy all the time. You're never sick, you're never sad, and you never get mad. That is the future I see. Trying so hard not to give up, but I've been given an impossible task. Still I'll persevere with my hopes way up here, and pray that you won't push back. And every day still I'm finding different reasons reasons for you to stay alive. You've become a part of me. I wish that you could see that I cannot say goodbye. And we're all making plans for a future, even when we know we're pressed for time. I'm making plans for a future, but what kind of future is mine? It's one where you're close to me always, one where you're happy all the time. You're never sick, you're never sad, and you never get mad. That is the future I see. And we're all making plans for a future, even when we know we're pressed for time. I'm making plans for a future, but what kind of future is mine? It's one where I'm close to you always, one where you're happy all the time. You're never sick, you're never sad, and you never get mad. That is the future